Okay, Justin, I assume you can hear me. If you can't and you can see my mouth moving here, then just let me know.
I've got you.
Okay. All right, so start off here by opening the app. Just a nice clean splash screen there. And actually, the splash screen, it takes a few seconds to load because I'm actually using that time to load everything in the background. So when the user first opens this app, there's not going to be they won't have this information that you're seeing here as far as the active AI programs or the begin checking calves because there won't be anything in the database. Instead of seeing this, they'll simply see a message that says no breeding information stored or something along those lines. Just by swiping either left or right or left, they can get to additional information. So I'll start off with the weather. That's just the current weather. Perhaps in future releases, we could look at doing some ability to look at future forecasts and things of that nature. But for now, we're sticking with just the current weather. And then one more scroll over. This is going to give them the user the current cattle prices. The top graph there shows the current cattle prices as of, I guess, yesterday at closing, and then the graph there below gives them the change over what it was exactly 1 week ago. So some really neat information, and that's pulled from the Chicago Mercantile Exchange on you can see there, the cattle futures. No way to really pull in, local data just because that information doesn't exist in a method that I can consume it here for the app. So continuing on this page, the little I button up there in the upper right-hand corner is just going to give them some information. So it just talks about, what the app is, what UT, mission and goals and things like that are, offers them an email address to contact me if there are any issues. Things like that. So that's all there is there for the front page. If we click on the reproduction tab, which is the next tab at the bottom of the screen to the right, this is where the main functionality of this app is, or a lot of the work, most of the work has gone into this aspect. So the first page that loads when you hit the repro dashboard is going to be your or the user's reproduction, kind of a snippet of what they have going on. So if they have any cow AI protocols happening right now, then they're going to see this information here. If they have any heifer AI protocols, they'll see that. And then scrolling on over, if they have any active bulls, as far as natural breeding goes, then they're going to see that here in this list. And then active calf groups. So if they have calf groups that are currently calving, as they go and add a calf to that calf group, and that number there where you see it says 2 currently will increase by however many animals they add to that calving group. So when they're ready to actually make some changes to this aspect, if they click on the menu tab in the upper left-hand corner, the home button, the very top button there, will take them back to the main home screen. The repro home takes them back to this screen right here. The natural breeding button. So if they click on natural breeding, the first thing they'll want to do when they come here, when there's nothing in the database, they'll see a little message that prompts them to click the plus button in the upper right-hand corner. When they click that, here's where they can either enter bull ID, or they can select, if they already have bulls stored in the application, they can select bulls that are currently stored. So for the purpose of this demo, I'm going to go with a new bull and just enter the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't think I currently have that one in the database. The date in, that would be the date that they're going to actually turn the bull out. So you can see here, they can easily select the date that they're going to put the bull out. So if I say I'm going to put the bull out September 21st, and then I'm going to remove the bull on November 18th. At the bottom, you can get in real time, as you change the date in and the date out of that bull, you're going to see when that bull's or when the expected calves range would be, those cows would be calving. Got a little, I don't want to say aggressive, but we all know obviously typical gestation is 283 days. I backed it up 10 days on the begin calving side to get it to 273, and then extended it 10 days on the back side of the end calving to get it to 293. Pretty large window there, but we all know that things can happen. So, I didn't want the app to tell them one thing and they have a calf, at 280 days and say, well, that app doesn't work. So either way, the user can then write any kind of notes that they may want to write here. And when they click save, then you can see they get this card essentially that pulls up here that shows all the information that they just entered. And if you keep in mind there as I go through this demo, bull ID 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'll show you how that gets stored into the actual production list of the bulls. So from this screen, they can set alerts on these calving or on this bull turnout. So if I set alert on the card that I just created, you can see I get a little notification there that says natural breeding reminder has been set. And what that reminder is going to do is, I think it's 2 days before the date that the bull is to be put in with the cows, I'll get a notification saying, or maybe 1 day, I can't exactly remember, but I'll get a notification saying, tomorrow or in 2 days, turn the bull out. And then again, a day or 2 days before the time that I had set to remove the bull from the pasture, I'll get a reminder telling me that, tomorrow or in 2 days, it's time to remove the bull. If I wanted to go to my alerts tab, I could click on the manage alerts here. And if I scroll down, you can see I have several alerts in here just from testing. If I scroll down to the very bottom, then I get some scheduled notifications. That just shows me notifications that have not yet been sent. And you can see the very first one there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is scheduled to be turned out. And then it skips one because of the time frame. And then the very last notification there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 removed from pasture tomorrow. So if I click those, I can actually see what that alert is and when it's going to trigger. So if I needed to, delete that and start all over or whatever, but just gives me a way that I can see it. And you can notice there when I click on an alert to view it, it shows it as being read. Now, when that alert actually fires, it will move from scheduled to delivered, and then again have the unread look to it. So going back to the natural breeding, if I do a swipe over from right to left, if I just swipe like that, I can either trash this natural breeding instance. If I click that, I get a prompt here kind of warning me. I'm going to cancel out the keypad. I can edit this natural breeding instance if I wanted to. I don't really want to edit anything there. And I can also set this on my calendar. So if I click the calendar button, you can see now this natural breeding event has been added to your calendar. I'll go to my calendar now, and let's see if I have the calendar open so I can pull it up. And then we can see here, besides my wedding, we've got natural breeding, bull ID 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I click that, there's not a whole lot of information here because I had to keep the code efficient. So I didn't want to have to add a tremendous amount of content. So the farm aid, the location there, that's something that I'm going to have to change in the next release because I accidentally left that as a test in the code. I wouldn't mind adding an ability for them to have a location in there, but it makes everything, right now I can write one code block and have this thing work. If I start adding notification or locations in there, then it just makes everything a little bit more difficult. So that just due to code efficiency and trying to keep everything running smooth, the location may not be an option at this time. So anyway, I'll go back to the app now. And if I do set the calendar event or set this item on my calendar, if I need to change that, if I go in and edit the turnout instance, if I change the date in or the date out, that will automatically change on my calendar. So the user doesn't have to worry about going in and removing that information and setting new information on the calendar. That will automatically save to the calendar. So that's natural breeding. And well, I'll get there. Again, remember this bull ID 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it'll make sense why I ask you to remember that here in just a minute. AI programs, again, this is probably the most dynamic aspect of the app. The biggest, largest amount of code, largest amount of time was spent on this. So when the user arrives at this page, starting at the very top right, we've got the little information button again. This just gives them a list of terms, the GNRH products, the PG products that they may encounter. just so they're not caught off guard when the user, if they're not used to AI protocols and things like that. When they go to the vet to get this, they'll know kind of what they're asking for. So the cow AI protocols and the heifer AI protocols look pretty much the same. So I'm just going to go through an example here. Since I don't have anything currently active in the heifer AI protocols, I'm going to go through that example. And I'm going to use a fairly dynamic one. The heat detection one shot and the heat detection 7-day cedar, those are actually heat detection type AI protocols. So there's a range of AI instances on that. I'm going to go into the fixed time AI since it is a fixed time, and it's important that the user follow an exact time frame instead of a range. So when the user clicks on the AI protocol they want to go with, they get the title at the top, but they can close out by clicking the little X on the side there. Day 0, give a shot of GNRH, just gives them an overview of what they're supposed to do with this protocol. They can select their day 0. And if I leave it, I'm going to go to Sunday, September 20th. And again, you can see here they can select the exact time. And as they change the time or the date, you can notice that all of the times and dates change in real time for the protocol and when they would have to take action on things. So when they're done with that, they just click done. And if they look at this, see that everything works out okay, then they'll click save. And you can see here now the fixed time AI turns green, indicating that it is the active AI protocol that they currently have going on. If I scroll down here, you can see the protocol information. Again, I can set alerts on this protocol. You can see at the top that it's telling me fixed time AI 5-day co-sync has been set. If I again click on manage alerts here and go to the bottom or go to where it shows me the schedule, I can see that I've got the heifer fixed time AI protocol, and it looks like one of these already ran just because of the time. No, it didn't. Sorry. So the two scheduled AI protocols I have are the very top one. If I click on that, you can see that it's going to fire on September 18th. So it's going to fire today at 9:42 p.m. Or at the time of this recording. I guess you guys are watching this after September 18th. So, and then the next one that will fire related to that protocol will be on September 22nd, just telling them don't forget your heifer AI tasks. So, some general notifications there for the AI protocols, but again, just to keep the code simple and efficient, that was the best way to go about doing that. Again, just similar to the natural breeding aspect, I can click add to calendar, and then we can see if I go to the calendar again, if I go back to September the 20th, I can see heifer fixed time AI 5-day co-sync. So that information is now stored in my calendar. So not only will I get an alert from the application, but I will also get alerts from my calendar if the user has that turned on. All right, going back to and again, just that's the same, it's going to function pretty much the same way in the cow AI protocols. And you'll notice here in the heat detection select sync, and then on the heifer side on the one-shot protocol, there's a shot of prostaglandin that happens kind of in the middle of detection. And we did denote here that the PG shot will only be for cows not yet bred, and then it also will say that for heifers under the heat detection one shot. So just a little disclaimer there. And I also added to the front page of the AI programs page, in all protocols, day 0 is the first actual day of the protocol. This term is an industry standard that we adopted to maintain consistency. So just to give them a note, the day 0 is the first actual day. Going back into my AI menu here, calving recorders, that's going to be the next thing. The user can come in and add a calving group here. The one that I'm using by example is just fall calving. If I slide from right to left on that, I can trash this. And if I trash this, it's going to also delete all of the calves that I have recorded under that group. And it's giving them a note here, you'll lose all calving records connected to this group, export list before deleting. So they can cancel out of that, or they could edit this just to change the name. They can also change it from active to inactive. And if I click update group, then you can see there it is inactive. And on the Repro Home tab, you'll see that I have no active calf groups. So that kind of changed that area. I'm going to add a new calf group here, and I'm just going to call this Fall Calves. And save my group. So when I click on that, I come to this screen where I can add a new calf. So again, kind of like when we saw in the natural breeding part of the application here, I can either select a cow ID that I currently have stored, or I can enter a new one. And I'm going to enter a new one here. So I'll go to new cow, and I'm going to count backwards on this one. So remember, I asked you to remember the bull before, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to remember this cow now of 98765. Same thing with the bull here. I can add that bull that I used earlier, and I will, just to show you some demo on that guy. Calf ID is going to be either any kind of numeric or text-based ID. It could even have 17 yellow. I know a lot of our folks may have the same number, but it's different tag number or color. I've seen that often. So here the user can use this slide bar to select the weight of the calf. They can also, if they don't like the slide bar or whatever, they can also just hard enter a weight there. Select the gender of the calf, make any notes that they may want to make with the calf. And then they can add a photo of that calf. I'm just going to take a picture here that I got on my desk. And when they click that, that photo is attached to this calf record. And I've got, these photos are going to be stored in their camera roll. So if they go into their camera roll and they delete this photo, it's going to remove it from the app. There's several technical reasons as to why I did it this way. I'm not going to get into it here. I'll be glad to explain if anybody has any questions, but it just kept things a lot cleaner and a lot faster by doing it this way. So when they're done, they click Create New Calf. You can see here that we have all the calf information on the left-hand side. The picture is on the right. They can click to get a bigger view of that picture if they wanted to. The sort by, they have several options to sort by. This part of the application is already on the list to fix. I know I'll get a lot of feedback that this sorting doesn't really work very well. I need to kind of revamp this aspect. So, don't be surprised if you try to do this and you find that it just doesn't work as expected. So I've got to do some work on that. I think basically the problem is I have too many options of how to sort. We're going to have to narrow those down a little bit. If they click on the little note there at the bottom, then they can see the notes that were typed with that calving record. Again, a swipe from right to left will reveal either delete the calving record or edit that calving record. If they do want to export this list, the easiest, most efficient way that I could have the app do that was to simply do it via email. I've tested this. It works out great. The user should be able to easily email, as long as they have an email account set up on the phone, they should be able to easily email this record to themselves, and then they can simply copy what shows up and paste it into Excel. I don't know if, Justin, if you've got that list that I forwarded to you, but you have the app on your phone, you could feel free to kind of do that and show folks there and what it looks like in Excel. But if they click on the export calving list, then just an email box shows up, gives them the information. Not the cleanest look here in the email because the date's kind of jumbled up a little bit, but it's still pulling all that information in from the calving list. And I can see right now I got to do some work on this because it looks like it's pulling from both calving lists that currently exist. So, but either way, shows up in a table. They can get that information out, go right into Excel, and have it for their records, and then come in and remove it from the phone if they wanted to. So I'm just going to delete that draft and then go back. So that's the calving group recorder. I don't think I'm missing anything there. Again, you can fully edit this stuff. All right, going back to the Repro tools, the last option here is just the alerts. We've already been here a couple times. This is where we can look at all of the alerts that we have configured. If I swipe left to right, or sorry, right to left, I can delete scheduled alerts, and that means it will remove those alerts from being delivered. So if I no longer, let's say for whatever reason, this AI heifer fixed time AI 5-day co-sync, I didn't have that as an active protocol anymore. I decided not to do it, whatever the case may be. I can come in and swipe and get rid of that. Furthermore, up here in the delivered, again, just a swipe right to left will get rid of that guy for you. These will all be marked unread when they come into the delivered section. When a user clicks on it and then goes back, it's going to be marked as having been read. So I like, this is one of my favorite aspects of the app. I think that it works well. They can see what they have coming up, making sure that their notifications got scheduled. If anything, I think the scheduled aspect may add a little bit of redundancy to it. Does the user really need to see the scheduled ones? But the flip side of that is, well, then they know that it is scheduled. They don't have to worry about being reminded. They know that the phone's going to remind them. Another aspect here is if they go right in here, the app is built to where it should auto refresh, but if for whatever reason they add a notification and they don't see it, if they pull down, then this list will auto refresh for them so they can see all that information. So that's the alert section. Now I'm going to go into the breeding stock. This aspect was kind of a late add, so we haven't, I think there's probably some potential here. Right now we're not going to add too much to it. We're just going to tweak what we currently have, but I think there is some potential here for the breeding herd part of the application. So very simple here. If you select cows, you can see the cows that are in the inventory. If you see the very last one, the 98765, I asked you to remember that as we were entering a calving record. So what it did, it went ahead and added that calf ID to my calving or to my cow database, and it added the number of calves since I was using that cow ID to record a new calf. But it didn't add anything else such as classification, birth year, and status. So if I do a swipe from right to left, I can click on edit, and then I can come in here and add, okay, this was a purchased cow. The number of calves that it has had, again, if somebody just started using this app and they have a cow that's had 4 or 5 calves, they could come in here and adjust that. They could also set the birth year of this cow, and then the status being in production, culled, or miscellaneous removed. So those are just some terms that Justin and I came up with to mark status. So I'll click in production and then select update cow record. And I just noticed something up there too. The cow ID is a little off. I need to clean that up. It's bringing in a little bit of the code. So, but anyway, so that gives the cow ID, or it fully develops that cow record for the producer. If they wanted to add a cow here from scratch, they could just click on the little plus icon, and then they could add that information there. Same thing with the bulls. You can see the last bull that's in this list is bull 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Swipe right to left. I can go in and edit, and I can add the breed if I wanted to, breed ID if I wanted to. The app is not going to be, it's not currently and will not be, pulling in information from breed associations. I can understand how, that aspect could be really neat, but if you start to think about how complex and how many different directions that would have to go, I just don't know if that would be the most efficient thing to do with the app. So there's no plans to have this sync with a breed association at this time, but they can keep up with the breed that the bull is and the breed ID. If they wanted to do that, then they could quickly go in and look at those EPDs and such. Again, classification here, either raised, purchased, or leased. I'll change that to leased. They can change the sired calves number there, bull birth year, and then status again is going to be either active or inactive on that. So I'll click update. You can see that information is updated. If they wanted to leave any of these items blank, they definitely could. It's not a big deal there. So that's the bull and cow inventory. Moving on to the last tab here, which is resources. I'm just going to go through this from top to bottom. So again, I said the alerts was maybe one of my favorite aspects of the app. Without a doubt, this next page is my favorite aspect of of the app, and it's the cattle management, the IRM calendar. So the user clicks on the cattle management calendar, and what it does here, it defaults to the current month and the spring calving selection. So first of all, if a user wanted to select a different month, they could come here and scroll through. So let's say we're in September now, October is right around the corner. So I can look at October and either look at the spring, fall calving, all cattle, or forages section of that IRM. If for whatever reason the user wants to see a full version of that IRM, if they click full beef IRM, it opens up in the app. So we're still currently in the app while this PDF is loading, and they could go through and look through this. When they're done, they would simply just click done, and it would take them back to the app. So they never really have to get out of the app there. Sorry, guys. Okay, so back here in our in the application, you can see there at the top also it says turn on IRM alerts. I'm going to turn that off and then turn that back on just so we can see it. I'm going to go back to my alerts section, or my notifications section here, alerts, yeah. So we can see what I just got a beef IRM calendar alert. So this is scheduled to fire on the first day of every month. Since I'm already past September 1, it went ahead and fired one. So on October 1st, I'll get another message just like this one that'll say new month, new task, check your IRM calendar. So just a really neat way to remind people to go back and check their IRM calendar every month. So again, they can turn that off or turn that on as they see necessary there. So going back to find my office, originally I had in here the individual agents, but quickly changed that because just due to turnover, it was going to be a nightmare to try to keep up with. So we just went in and came in and defaulted this to just the counties. So all 95 counties are listed here. Did not include the research stations, which we may want to do. Maybe we have a separate header or something like that for the research stations, but folks can come in and find their county offices and such using this tab. UT Extension Beef videos. This is actually a Vimeo feed. It's from the UT Beef and Forage Council. So all these are videos that are currently published on that channel. And you can see, like at the bottom, we have where the white text there is actual description of the video. So when you see blanks up here and the rest of these, that just means that there's just not a description of that specific video. User clicks on the tab. Again, we get an in-app browser here where you're still technically in the app. I'm not going to push play here because that will tend to lock up the screen sharing. But when the user hits play, it'll default to going to a landscape view so they can watch that video. So just very clean, very easy. The way that I built this, again, not to pat myself on the back, but it's very efficient using the ability to access the internet to play that. So the downside is if they don't have an internet connection, they will see this list, but that video will not play. But that's standard for an application. It just simply would be too large to add that many videos into the app itself. Master Beef Producer, just a very basic information about what Master Beef Producer is. Same thing with Advanced Master Beef Producer, just very basic information about what that is. The Tennessee Ag Enhancement Program, I already know that I have to do some styling or give this thing some styling love. It's pretty bad with the blue links and things like that, but we just wanted to offer some information here as to how to get in touch with the TA or the Tennessee Department of Agriculture about the TAE program. So I can easily come in here, or when we collect all the feedback and make the next release and change those links to something a little bit better than that blue, because that is hard to read. Finally, spoke with the folks at Beef Cattle Magazine, asked their permission to pull in their feed here. So this is the article feed from Beef Cattle Magazine. So it just offers some more information for users to be able to utilize the app to come in and find information. If they click on the read more, again, similar to what we saw with the IRM calendar and the beef videos, it opens up a browser within the app, and they can get out of that just by clicking done and go right back to the application itself. So that's about it, or that is it. That's all the aspects of the app. If you guys, obviously, I'm out of town or out of the office and have pre-recorded this, but if you guys have any questions, then I would encourage you just to get in touch with me, and appreciate your time and your effort on working through this project with us. And I think it's going to be something really neat that we can offer the producers for the state of Tennessee.
That's outstanding, Brad. I appreciate that. This is